Hello, I'm Dr. Lynette Sim, along with Lisa Burkhart Worley of Pearl's Promise Ministries, and welcome to Pop Talk, the show where you never know what subjects might pop up. Well, Christmas is upon us, and how are you feeling? Do you have everything already done? Are you one of those who are done by November? Or are you like me, procrastinating to the absolute end? Well, as the joy of Christmas in your season right now? Well, today's show, we're going to meet a gentleman who is going to share how to put Christ back into Christmas. Lisa, why don't you introduce our guest?
Well, yes, thank you, Lynette. Our guest today is Wayne A. Vanderwall. Wayne's the author of a new book, Beware! Corky the Yorkie is a sock thief. So is my dog, Jewel. But the book we're going to talk about today is called The Gospel of Santa Claus. It's an Amazon #1 bestseller. Wayne's been a school counselor, a psychologist, and has spent over 30 years leading various ministries, including Bible studies, divorce care, and children's college, jail, inner city, married, men's singles, and youth ministries. You're a busy guy, Wayne, but you're doing some great work there. We're just so glad to have you on Pop Talk. Now, The Gospel of Santa Claus sounds like a great book. Why don't you tell us why you wrote it?
So it was 2008, and that was a rough year for me. I was going through a divorce, or I went through a divorce that year. And by the time the holiday rolled around, I was big time digging deep with God. As you can imagine, I had the #1 prayer in the world. Lord, help me during this time, and He was faithful. He helped me during that time. And by the time that holiday season rolled around, I was really disillusioned with the whole materialism of Christmas, the secularization of Santa Claus, the commercialization of Santa Claus, the materialism of the season, just disillusioned with it. And I really cried out to God to help me make Christmas more meaningful to my kids, for my kids, and of course put Christ back into Christmas, make Him the focal point, not presents and all the other things, which they all have their place for sure. I'm not poo-pooing any of that, but we really need to put Christ back in the #1 spot. And so what I did that season, I cried out to Him, Lord, help me. So I started researching more about Christmas, the traditions, and of course who Saint Nicholas was. I always knew there was a connection between Saint Nick and Santa Claus, but I didn't fully understand it all. So I started doing research, and then I discovered, wow, Saint Nicholas had an amazing story, inspirational. I mean, he suffered a lot of heartache and trials and persecution in his life, but he overcame it with the love and joy and peace of the Lord, and generosity and forgiveness, and being in the Christian world, I'd ask family and friends, hey, do you know this story? And very few people knew his true story. So as I'm learning about it that season, I'm sharing it with my kids about his generosity and his faith and being a man of God, and a incredible, strong Christian who eventually became a priest and bishop in the church. And and so during that season, it really changed the way we did Christmas. Uh, and it just became, basically, it went from being self-centered to other-centered and family-centered, is what happened to us during that season. And so yeah, anyway, during that, so as I'm learning about his story, I'm visual. And so this movie is forming in my head. I love movies. And so I'm just picturing this movie rolling through my head as I'm sharing the story with my kiddos. And it's impacting our, St. Nicholas's life is impacting the way we're doing things, and pointing us to Jesus more than ever. And then I started actually writing this as a script in 2009 after that Christmas season, but I can't go out and make a movie. So I thought, well, I'll make it into a book, and then if somebody likes the book, hopefully we can make it into a movie. And so that started that whole process.
Yeah, I would love to talk about the movie. Can you just discuss that a bit? Are you seeking help on getting this out there in the theaters, or do you have producer in mind? Or you said you're working on a script. Yeah, I know it's difficult. We've got a some friends who are in the movie business, and we know how difficult it is to get funding. And so, can you talk about what's going on with it?
Yeah, I'm just trusting in the Lord. I'm just trying to be faithful one step at a time. And what I have done is converted into scripts. And it's my baby. It's a historical fiction novel, and it's 300 pages. So to cut anything out and try to make it one movie would be pretty much impossible, because I have two storylines: a modern day family that meet a elderly gent on the train. They're not a very happy family, and but they meet this gent. He starts sharing with them the gospel of Santa Claus, the gospel of Saint Nick's real story. And so then there's two storylines: the modern day family being impacted by this story, Saint Nicholas's story, along with St. Nicholas's historical story. And so to cut anything out, would be hard. So I'm taking the risk and I'm making it into a trilogy. A lot of movie producers like, no, make it one. And I'm like, I just can't, and I'm just trusting God. We'll see what happens. But I made it into a trilogy with his early years. That's the first third of the book. His middle years, that's the middle third. And then what I call the Santa years, the end of the last part of the book, where his character kind of morphs into what we know today is the Santa Claus, but with the faith still driving him. He's really a character of substance, being a man of faith. And so that's what I'm doing. So I have the 3 scripts. I've had a couple professional screenwriters look it over. I got the first script dialed in to the point where I entered it into a Christian movie competition called Kairos. So we'll see what happens with that this coming spring. And then the other 2, I still have to go back and clean up and consider the input that I received from these other screenwriters and tighten it up, make it a little tighter and better. So I'll have it available if anyone is interested. I was at NRB last year. I saw you there last spring. I guess it's this year, last spring, or was it this year or last year? I'm so confused with COVID. It's just crazy. And met 5 different movie producers were interested and wanted to see it. And then I have a couple other Hollywood connections. But until the 3 are done, I haven't really pursued all those yet, because I want it all done to kind of save time and energy and whatnot. So that's kind of where we're at with the scripts. I'm just trusting in God that it was a movie in my head, and when people read it, they are when they read it, they're picturing it like a movie in their head. So it's all good. So just leaving it up to God to open doors and bring the right people in that would embrace this project, and as much as I do, and really do it justice. So that's the plan.
It's so exciting to hear that you want to bring to life a trilogy that's really going to make a holiday season come to life, specifically for children, so that they can understand the true meaning of Christmas.
Right. Yes.
And to really share the story of Saint Nicholas. Could you give us just a little bit more as to who this character is that we started to base our holiday season on?
Yeah, he has such a rich history. So he was born in 270 AD in a country called Lycia, which today is Turkey. So he's Turkish. And he was born to wealthy Christian parents in that time, which was actually a Greek culture ruled by the Roman Empire. And so if you can just imagine, the society that he's living in, he's Christian with the Greek gods and the Roman gods, and all this mixed together during that time. So that's what he was born into. And I mentioned they're wealthy, and to me that's just a miracle unto itself, that they were Christians in a Greek and Roman culture, but they were wealthy. And tragically, they died in a plague when he was young. And I just think it's ironic. Here we are in a plague. We don't use that word. We say pandemic, but reality is, we just went through or experiencing a plague. And that's where St. Nicholas lost his parents at a young age. So he inherited their vast fortune and felt called by God to give it away. He just took the gospel serious, that, give to others, be generous to the poor, sick, and suffering. And that's what he did. He went on to become a priest and bishop in the church at the time. And was persecuted. The Roman ruler at that time was Emperor Diocletian, and he was one of the most violent emperors, especially towards Christians. And so he ended up persecuting Nicholas during that time and actually imprisoning Nicholas. Nicholas spent 5 years in prison. So, who knew Santa Claus spent time in the big house? And it's just amazing. But then he still overcame all these struggles and tragedies, again, with the love and joy and peace of the Lord and forgiveness and so much. And so he lived on a Patara. He grew up in Patara, which was a port city. And then he was a bishop of Myra, which was a port city. So his whole life he spent on these major trading places right on the Mediterranean, where people from all over the world, from Africa, from the Middle East, Far East, and Europe, all were trading. And so he got to touch and bless people from around the world, where his reputation was just spread all over the world. There's thousands of St. Nicholas churches all over the world now, just because this one man who was just faithful to God, serving God in his humble way. But he touched so many lives, and he's a patron saint of children, sailors, prisoners, so many different people groups. It's just amazing. And so that's a snapshot of his life. Of course, there's more to it in the book, but I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, you want people to read it. But I keep thinking about Santa in the Slammer. I mean, I
Right.
just can't believe it. I just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it just puts a whole new light on Santa.
Yeah.
But can you talk a little bit about how we've gotten away from Saint Nicholas and some of the things he taught, with the current Santa that we kind of talk about and love?
Yeah. Well, historically, it's really interesting. America's Christmas was birthed out of New York. So much happened in New York. So New York, at one time in the 1600s, was actually called New Amsterdam. So the Dutch Christians came across, inhabited New York, and it was called New Amsterdam at that time, before the English took them over. But by then they had already brought their traditions of Saint Nicholas, or their nickname for him, Sinterklaas. So they had Sinterklaas here in the 1600s. The British took over, and so then English, of course, became our language at that point. And then so through the 1700s, through the Revolutionary War, English speakers tried to pronounce Sinterklaas, and so the name morphed into Santa Claus. And so then Clement Moore's poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" was written in the 1830s, and that morphed St. Nicholas even more. The original title of that poem was actually "A Visit from St. Nicholas." So I'm sharing that because that's the start of the secularization of Christmas and the materialism. Because at that point, then St. Nicholas was starting, and Christmas was making a comeback. They did away with it for a while, but it was starting to come back. But then the shopkeepers and store owners started, monopolizing Christmas at that point. But Clement Moore, just real quick, I mean, he never mentioned Santa Claus in that poem. It's all Saint Nick. Oh, Saint Nick's arriving. Saint Nicholas is on the roof. Saint Nick. And so, I mean, it's a powerful book to start changing our language from Santa Claus to Saint Nick. That's what I was doing with my family when I wrote this book. That, at the mall, oh, there's Saint Nick, instead of Santa Claus, just to help make that change in our minds that, Santa Claus is real, and he's St. Nicholas, and this is who St. Nicholas is. He's a man of God, a man of faith, who is sold out for Jesus and gave his life, dedicated his life, devoted his life to him. And so it can start conversations. Even the little kids that learn, St. Nicholas, oh, there's Santa Claus, their friend says. And then, your kid says, no, that's St. Nick. St. Nick, yeah, he's a man of God, and they can even witness and share the true story of who St. Nicholas really is, to help bring Christ back into Christmas. But so to answer your question, sorry, I ramble, but as far as the commercialization, so during the 1800s, as Christmas made a big comeback and was popularized with Clement Moore's book, and then Dickens' I can't think of the name of his book.
A Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol. Thank you. Yes, Christmas Carol. So with Dickens' Christmas Carol, it all highlighted Christmas, and Christmas made a popular comeback. But then by then, the shop owners, the store business owners, storekeepers, started monopolizing that and making it, more into a present buying thing. And just, I mean, through the 19th century, it morphed into what we have today, a big commercial thing where, I think it's neat that a lot of non-Christians celebrate Christmas, because it's an opportunity to talk to them about, the real meaning of Christmas. But at the same time, it's so secularized, materialized, commercialized now. It's just sad, So that's part of, my book. I think I put this book on my heart to write and share, to start, bringing Christ back into Christmas. And at least that's the hope and prayer.
Saint Nicholas, like you were talking about, gave everything that he had, everything that he had inherited from his parents after their passing, to help those less fortunate, which is truly giving your material things to others, which I understand is the main focus. So how can we help our children during this time to not have the Christmas lists and all of this material and what I want and so on and so forth, but really change Christmas, Wayne, from this shopping, me, list, into what St. Nicholas really started in this season of giving. And do you have any, any suggestions that you would give, that maybe you've started with your children, that maybe we can start instituting with our own?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing is we have to be intentional during this season. And there's so many opportunities to be intentional, where we can calendar the time from Thanksgiving to Christmas and really make it a true Christmas season. And I think it's a God thing that Thanksgiving is a month before Christmas, to kick off that season of thankfulness, and to be intentional with our kiddos during that time of who Jesus is. And when you're decorating, make everything we do about Jesus, like decorating. I hope and pray that everyone has a nativity scene central in their decorations for every family, because I remember when I was a kid, watching the Little Drummer Boy on TV, and then having that nativity set, by the fireplace, and that I gravitated toward, because I knew there was something special about it. There was something magical about it. And so just something simple as that is putting up the nativity scene as a special moment during the season. And then really sharing with the kids, all right, Santa's about giving, because God gave to us, and Santa is Saint Nicholas, and Saint Nicholas received love and grace and forgiveness and all this, and then he shares that with others. And so that's what we're called to do too, and say, just as a family, we're going to go from being self-centered to more other-centered and family-centered. That's what the season is. And of course, it's fun to exchange gifts. It's fun to buy for others, and we'll have that opportunity. And of course, it's fun to receive, but to not lose sight of what it's all about. And so then, that's where there's so many opportunities now with angel trees, going to church or wherever and pulling some names off to be able to go shop for some other kids, to show the kids, okay, we're going to, buy for less fortunate people, because we're so blessed in so many ways. Angel tree, there's Operation Shoebox, where you fill a shoebox and send it to kiddos overseas. There's, volunteering at the homeless shelter, feeding the homeless, going out and maybe buying a case of waters and some snacks, but some snacks and baggies. And, I don't know about your towns, but on my town, there's a person on, seems like every other corner, with a sign, and just giving them baggies and bless them, with candy canes and whatever you want to put in it. maybe a little devotional, some sort of, I always include some sort of Christian thing in my little baggies that I give out to, remind the person, I'm giving it because Jesus gave to me. Jesus is important in my life. There's, caroling at senior centers or children's hospitals. You get a group together, some family and friends, and go, seniors. I have one, I live in a condo, and right next to me is a huge senior care thing. And, the people are just hungry for visitors. They're hungry for people just to talk, and they love to see kids, and bring your dogs because they love to, pet dogs. And, because it gets lonely. It's like an institutional, as nice as they try to make it, it's still these elderly people by themselves with no family around. And even if family's around, they, only visit so much. So especially this time of season, to go visit senior care places or children's hospitals. So look for opportunities in your area to really help your kids, and kids love helping. They're just natural helpers. When they get older, not so much, but when they're little, get them while they're little, and teach that, make it traditions this is the new family tradition that we're going to do, to be other centered and also family centered. Do a lot of fun things together. There's so many things. Go to tree lightings, go to live nativities, go to Christmas pageants, go ice skating, go look at Christmas lights, make hot chocolate, drive around, look at Christmas lights, and look see how many nativity scenes they can count in people's yards that are on display. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is try to get from self-centered and the presence to really other-centered, giving not just our resources, but of our time and energy is important. And try to plan it out, spread it out. Don't do too much, where you're all stressed and whatnot. But plan enough to really emphasize what the season's about for kiddos, to learn from and see, to become more family-centered and other-centered.
Yeah, I love that. Love those are great ideas. I hope everybody's taking notes. I know I've got it all right here. And one of the things I do when I'm decorating the tree is the first thing I put on the tree are the crosses. I want that to be the first thing because I want to remember this is the reason for the season. I want to make the crosses the focus. And even when I was doing some organizing and some cleaning out, I was listening to Christmas carols and I was singing as I was doing this. It made the job so much better. But you've got an acronym for Santa, SANTA, where you talk about 5 ways that being like SANTA will help us relieve holiday stress. Can you go through those?
So for those viewers, I have a visual. Hopefully this is okay. So be like Santa to relieve holiday stress. So S, stop, take time outs. We get so busy, caught up doing things for just being busy with the seasons, with decorating, with parties, with serving. I mean, a lot of us are very generous with our time and energy during the season. So take time out. Santa, be like Santa. I mean, he would go to house, but he didn't run around frazzled. He'll stop at each house. He'll enjoy your decorations. He'll bite a piece of cookie off. He'll wash it down with some milk. He'll bless your home, and then he's off to the next house. He takes a deep breath each time. So be like Santa. Jesus took time out. It's so important to take time out and recharge your batteries during this time. Daily. Don't once you start feeling that stress level rise, really take time out for yourself. Anticipate imperfection. So just anticipate things aren't always going to be good or work out perfectly. Santa, he expects snowstorms, rain, storms, a reindeer getting sick, whatever. And so bad things happen. So in our life, in real life, kids get sick. The water heater goes out. Things mess up our plans. So anticipate imperfection. Know that maybe all your decorations aren't going to get up. Maybe you can't afford everything you want. So just anticipate things aren't going to be perfect and give yourself some grace to not have a perfect Christmas, because Jesus is perfect. And as long as we're focusing on him, it's all good. SAN, and navigate one day at a time. So it's nice to, make a calendar of all the different events you want to attend and all the fun things you want to do. and even all the chores you have to do. So make a calendar for the month, but then once that's on paper, it's out of your head, and just take one day at a time. Some of us need to take 1 hour at a time, but just go through the month and just take a day at a time. Let tomorrow worry about tomorrow. Shake off yesterday. Today's a new day, and just do one day at a time. Just like Santa takes one house at a time. He has to take one house at a time and focus on that to make sure he leaves the right presents and doesn't, give Susie's present to Tommy, 3 houses back. So he has to be intentional and be focused, one house at a time. So take one day at a time, take an hour at a time. And then think thankfully, think thankfully, having a thankful heart. I mean, it's so wonderful. We have Thanksgiving to kick off the season, and every day, be thankful. One idea is have like a jar and have everyone in the family each day write something they're thankful about and then throw it in the jar. So then Christmas, you can just start pulling them all out and start reading everything to be thankful for. And so many studies now, the secular world's just starting to discover the power of being thankful, and having a thankful heart is a happy heart. So practice thankfulness during this time every day for every big thing and little thing you have. And then lastly, accept yourself. Accept yourself for who you are. You can't do everything. You're not superhuman, and just accept what you can do, and give yourself that grace to be you, and rest and recharge, and accept others for who they are. Know that they're not perfect, that people are going to make mistakes around you. They're not going to meet all your expectations, whatever those may be. And so accept yourself, accept others, accept the season for what it is. I just think of Santa. He knows he can't do everything, and so he's thankful for the elves. He's thankful for the Lord's help with everything that he does. And he's thankful for the season. We just need to accept ourselves for who we are, not put too much pressure on us, accept others for who they are, not put too much pressure or have too many expectations for them, and accept the season for what it is. And it's really all about Jesus, God coming in and giving us the greatest gift of all. He came, he lived, he died, he rose again, all for our sins and for our salvation.
Well, Wayne, it has been wonderful. Has been wonderful having you on the show to tell us about St. Nicholas and some of the things that we can learn from him. I know people want to know more about you. There's a lot that we didn't get to. So if you want to find Wayne Vanderwall, you can go to his website at Wayne, Wayne, Vanderwall, VANDERWAL.com.
And Wayne, I already looked up on Amazon. Your book is available. If you want to start your Christmas the right way, you can start right now. Your book is available on Amazon, and it can be delivered before the holiday season is over. Of course, we would love for you to reach us here at Pearls of Promise Ministries as well. You can email us at info@Pearls of Promise Ministries. We'd also like for you to join us at our Pop Talk, our Pop Chat, pardon me. And I'll be sharing a message next January in the new year at 6:30 Central Standard Time. Always feel free to email us with any of your prayer requests. You can also find us at Facebook, Twitter at Pop Talk Media, and also on Instagram at media_ministries.
And we want to thank our sponsor, GracePoint Media. For all of your media needs, go to gracepoint.media. So that is Pop Talk for today. We're just ordinary girls
who God is turning into pearls.
We hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.